Filmed before a training flight earlier this year, this was the Ukrainian F-16 pilot who was killed when his jet came down in eastern Ukraine. Colonel Alexei Mess, call sign Moonfish, was one of just half a dozen Ukrainian pilots qualified to fly the jet in combat. He was killed during a mission to intercept Russian cruise missiles. Kyiv says it could use Western air defence systems like Patriot or RST to do that job instead, if it was given more of them. So how can Ukraine conserve its precious pilots? Well, one answer, says former RAF Air Marshal Bagwell, would be for NATO to impose a no-fly zone over Western Ukraine, something like this area marked in blue. That, he says, would allow the Ukrainian Air Force to focus its efforts on the front line. Would you advocate Typhoons based in Romania, as they are now, being able to fly into Ukraine and take down cruise missiles that were effectively overshooting Kyiv on their way to Lviv or somewhere?
It is a serious option that I think too many have probably discounted too early. If you say the words no-fly zone, it conjures up all sorts of images in people's heads. And quite often, actually, the no-fly zones that we'd done in the past, they weren't no-fly zones. They were, but they were also no-drive zones. In other words, it wasn't just no airplanes. It was no military activity whatsoever. Otherwise, you'll get your just desserts. In this case, we're talking about no objects zone. So, cruise missiles, hypersonic missiles even, or drones, using potentially NATO assets to engage them in the west of the country. Because what that wouldn't require you to do, it would not require you to engage manned crewed aircraft, and it wouldn't require you, therefore, to be concerned about ground-based air defence based in Russia.
In recent weeks, Moscow's stepped up its drone and missile attacks on Ukraine's towns and cities, targeting key infrastructure and utilities as the country heads into winter. Ukraine claims its air force has flown more than 20,000 sorties and destroyed 8,000 Russian air assets, from planes and helicopters to cruise missiles and drones. Poland recently said it has the right to shoot down any Russian missile over Ukraine that is heading towards its borders. The Air Marshal says NATO should do the same, using its massive air power to police the skies over western Ukraine.
If you actually look at the threat scenario, we've put no-fly zones over countries, over the top of their surface-to-air systems, daring them not to fire at us, whether that be Iraq or Libya. So we have created no-fly zones over the top of a hostile country for years. We're not talking about that in this scenario. We're talking about putting a no-fly zone, or call it what you will, an engagement zone, over a western half of a friendly country where there aren't Russian aircraft. So, this is not at the same level of threat as some of the no-fly zones we've done in the past.
But what about the politics? Both the UK and US have stopped Ukraine from using their long-range cruise missiles inside Russia, fearing it would be escalatory. So how would the idea of a no-fly zone go down?
I think that would be palatable politically, to put Western pilots in the air over Ukraine, even with that minimal risk.
I'll be honest, probably not. Listening to the rhetoric coming out of certain capitals, I think that would just be beyond the pale, because we've got into a mindset where anything that we do that might antagonise Russia is something we must not do. But you can't, in the same breath, then say we must do everything possible to help Ukraine win. You can't have it both ways.
Air Marshal Bagwell says Article 51 of the NATO Charter provides a legal basis for a no-fly zone. It allows collective self-defence if a UN member is attacked. For Ukraine, the loss of such an experienced pilot as Colonel Mess is a major blow. The Air Marshal believes a no-fly zone offers a low-risk way for NATO to directly support Ukraine, allowing its few pilots to focus on the fight in the east. Simon Newton, BFBS Forces News. Thanks for watching. For more from Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.